Hello, everyone. It's so great to see you back here at Silver Tears Tarot. And of course, a warm welcome to those of you who are new. So, for today's reading, we're going to take a look in on your person. It's been a little while since we've devoted a reading to just what was going on with them. So, we know there have been a lot of things going on in your person's life. Some of them, their lives are changing. For some, the way they're seeing their life has changed. For a lot of them, they're trying to figure out how to adapt to some new truths they've learned. So now they're getting a feel for what really makes them happy. They're trying to figure out how they're going to get there, but it's just not that simple. It's not an easy thing to do. So, in the midst of all this, there's been a lot of energy toward reconciliation, toward reunion. So, let's get in there a little bit deeper and just kind of see how your person is feeling about it. So, as always, it's a general reading, it's for all signs. Even though it's a pick a pile, we know the readings won't resonate with everyone, but if one of them does really resonate with you, please hit like. And then remember to subscribe because we've got a definite pattern in these readings and they're all connected. So there'll be more messages coming for you. So it's time to pick out your pile. We've got pile one with the rose quartz, pile two with the porphyry, and then pile three with the mahogany obsidian. And as I always say, don't overthink it. Just breathe. Let yourself drift toward one of the piles. Pick however many of them you feel drawn to. If you choose to watch pile one, it's going to be right up next. For piles two and three, you can get the linked timestamps down below. So pick your pile and let's get started. So getting things going with pile one. This is the one with the rose quartz pointer. This is one of my tried and true favorites. I've loved that one since the first time I ever picked it up. I'm going to be reading for you with the Psychic Tarot, and then I'm going to clarify with the Tarot of the Spirit, which I just totally pointed to off screen. We're going to get started with the energy around them. And so this is the energy that's happening around your person right now. Because remember, this reading is really just digging into what's happening in their world. Okay, so we've got the card of triumphant success that comes out. And this deck does not pull any punches. I hardly ever use it, but sometimes I'm drawn to use it and there are just no substitutes. So this card is all about triumphant success, but I can't wait to see what comes out when we clarify because you see that this is their hand is coming out of the ground. There is an element of this to digging yourself out. The sun is starting to come out. It's kind of dark and gloomy over here, and the light is starting to come in over here. So let's see. Let's see where that goes. That'll be interesting. That's the energy that's happening around them. So now looking at the energy that's happening between you. This is energy that's flowing between you. So a lot of you are in separation. A lot of different ways to be in separation, and that's okay. Doesn't really change the fact that there is still going to be energy flowing between you. That would be primarily in the energetic realm if you aren't having the opportunity to be in each other's space. But yeah, that's what we're going to look for. We're going to look for what is the energy that's flowing between the two of you. And it could be a little bit tough to detect. I get the sense that it is under the surface here. So we've got stand your ground. Now this one feels a little bit like a Seven of Wands, okay? And it is just it's very much about, I mean, obviously standing your ground, but it's this feeling of being protected while you do so. And so that is something that's maybe a little bit different between the energy between you, maybe than what we would have caught in the past. There has been some change between the two of you in that energy that has you kind of aligning a little bit more closely. We saw a couple weeks back, maybe it was, it's hard to remember exactly how many readings back it was, but I remember what it felt like. There was this sense of the two of you really sort of turning a corner together and getting aligned in your energy, even if you weren't doing much talking. So it was this feeling of you close your eyes and it's there. They are there. It's a strong sense of truth. This is a strong sense of truth. This has got that Ace of Swords kind of feel to it. And so the interesting thing about this deck is that it mimics, or it kind of goes along with, the traditional tarot, but it isn't the traditional tarot. So it has these significant touch points, but then it also has some additional cards, and it's just got a different feel to it. So when I read it, I sometimes I go in and out of those touch points with the traditional tarot. So where it feels like, so this one feels like a Seven of Wands. So I felt like I kind of wanted to point that out. But that's the energy between you. There's that feeling of protectedness, and this is something that's been missing. There's been a sense of fear. So this feeling of feeling protected. Um, with regard to one another is new, and that's a very positive thing, but it's a triumphant success. It's a new truth, something that's kind of digging itself out, that's coming out of a difficult, darker place. So let's see how your person is feeling about you. And, we've done some reading into this, especially with soulmates in separation and just in general, seeing how your person is feeling about you over some previous readings. And we've seen a real evolution there. So, it's been there's still a lot of fear in some of these recent readings that we've had, when your person goes and thinks about how they feel about you. So recently we've had a lot of emotion that they are having a hard time getting to. They're having a hard time letting it out, letting it there's something that's in the way. There's something they don't feel like they have a choice about in some of our most recent readings. But here we've got foundation and achievements, and that's something else that has been kind of coming out. This is like the Four of Wands, but it's what's significant about this is probably more that sense of you. I want to say you got in on the ground floor. Like that's what wants to be said, but there's more to it than that. There is this sense that you guys give each other comfort. You guys give each other a lot of comfort, in even in times when you don't realize it. So even times when you don't realize that you're in this person's mind and in this person's heart, you really are. And so those count for them. So they feel closer to you as a result of that. It has caused them to, even though they've been in this difficult place, to still keep moving in your direction. And so they feel even more confident around your energy than they did when you parted, if you're in separation, or than they did recently if they're trying to kind of pull it together, if you're in that sort of bouncing back and forth and real wavering sort of communication. Because some of you are in that too. And so it's not exactly separation, but there is some emotional distance. Let's look at what a critical energy is that is impacting your person in their life at this time. So, a critical energy that's impacting them. This is a fun question. You never know what you're going to get here. So, there's something that's definitely changing. Okay, movement, choices, decisions. Your person has a lot happening in their life right now, but there are some different moving parts. I guess that's one of the things that really kind of comes out of this for me when I look at it, is this is added complexity as a result of these choices and decisions that your person has to make. It isn't so much that they don't feel qualified to make them, or that they don't feel like they're going to be able to make them. They feel pretty decent about things. There is that successful sense. There's that feeling of being protected, like that Seven of Wands, and they do feel really comfortable with the concept of you and your energy. But yes, here they've got something else that's impacting them. We know that there are things that are happening in your person's life that are completely separate from this relationship, and this is just that sort of energy. It's that sense of those other things that are happening that just also need to have their time in your person's mind. So let's take a look at the hidden energies that want to come out. What is hidden here from your person? Your person cannot see this from where they're standing. What is hidden from your person that you need to know about? That's what's interesting about this question. It's not just what's hidden from your person's perspective. And of course, as we know, may not be hidden down deep, but it's really something that you also need to be aware of. It may be the source of a misunderstanding. Sometimes, if you understand that from their perspective, they're not able to see something or they're not able to have clarity on something, it may impact the way that you perceive some of their behaviors and hear some of their words. So that's what we're looking for. What is it that you don't know but you need to? All right, let's see. And we've got obstacles and challenges that have come your person's way. Obstacles and challenges that you would not be aware of from where you're standing. So, this isn't necessarily surprising. It's a situation where there are some things happening in your person's life that maybe you're not aware of, some obstacles, some challenges, things that are creating issues for them, but that they haven't communicated to you if for some reason, or they haven't even had the opportunity. They may not be things that they would think to communicate to you. And so that may be part of, again, a misunderstanding or not being quite sure how to take something. Let's see what you should do. We can see here that they have some decisions to make, that we know here where they've got some unseen by, this is what's hiding from them. Okay, remember they've got obstacles and challenges they can't get a bead on. All right. But you need to know that's part of what they're dealing with. So, just to be clear, it's more about that they haven't been able to quite quantify these obstacles and challenges just yet. And that's part of the issue that they're experiencing. So, there's a lot of them being in the dark and needing to kind of come out. So, it's great that that's what's happening, but there's still a lot happening behind the scenes, and they haven't gotten a bead on all of it yet. But let's look to see now what it is that you should be doing. And it's what you could be doing to prepare for energy that your person is bringing. Some of it is you're feeling some of your person's energy and you're trying to figure out, well, how can I maybe understand this better? This helps you to understand it, but is there a way you could utilize it? What could you be doing right now that would help you and your person? Because remember, any answers that you find or that your person finds will help the other one. The bond that you have means that any progress that one of you makes is helpful to both of you. So let's see what you could be doing. Sometimes it's just a matter of being open and receptive because your person is out there solving issues and you want to be able to receive the benefit from those solutions and that work that they're doing. Sometimes it's a matter of solving some of your own issues. We've got accelerated motion. Okay, so we'll have to get in and clarify that and see what that really means. But it sounds like things would be accelerated that would be outside of the scope of your control. And that's kind of how this typically works. But what can you do around that accelerated motion? That's what we'll be looking to understand a little bit more. So I've got here the Tarot of the Spirit, the one I gestured to that was off camera earlier. We're going to start by clarifying this triumphant success. So this is the energy that's around your person. And to see this, this is like there's been a dark period, there's been a difficult time. And so for your person to be having this positive, okay, here's this is the energy of movement. This is something that has happened relatively recently, but what I'm seeing here is it's kind of still happening. So when I see that this is the energy around them, this is very much the energy of the now. There's a lot of fast moving energy. This is the same energy as this accelerated motion. All of these purple rimmed ones are fire energy. Okay. And so this deck's equivalent of the Eight of Wands, Eight of Fire. And so In this deck, it's called the Lightning Path. It's all about energy ramping up, not necessarily within your control, but this is incredibly positive. It's just that it's moving very quickly. That's what's happening in your person's current energy right now. So if it feels like, my gosh, I just had to get on here and watch a reading because something's going on and I just don't have a feel for what it is. You're right. Something pretty high energy and fast moving is going on in your person's world here. So let's see. We've also got the Sister of Fire that has come out. That's like the Page of Wands, but it's coming out in the reverse. So the Sister of Fire. This one is about letting passion be quelled or intentionally quelling passion. More, it feels like kind of mashing your passions down and make sure that they don't amount to much, which is going to pale in comparison to this Eight of Fire. You're not really going to be able to do that. They're not going to be able, they'd be fighting on two fronts if they were going to try and mash down this passion while also having all this new truth come out. So, things are in the process of really changing for your person, and it seems like there's not very much they'd be able to do about that. But it may take a little bit of coping on their part. Luckily, they're feeling pretty good about things with regard to you. So they've got this. This is how they feel about you, remember? So this is stand your ground, but it has that sense of confidence, commitment, and just really feeling protected, like they'd be able to be successful if they went forward. They're already having success in their energy. And so for them to just kind of transfer it that way, that may be a little bit of what you're feeling. So here to go with that, we've got the Eight of Wind. All right, so they're confident, but it's not without doubt. They've still got some areas where they're very concerned about something. They're afraid of, again, that idea of acceptance. They're not quite sure what to do. So their mind gets a little bit wrapped up in some things. They get concerned about how you're going to receive something they want to tell you. Um, let's see here. They still feel like they want to reach out and have some confidence about it, but they don't have a lot of strength to do so. There's a lot of fear that's kind of overruling that strength and desire to jump in and just start the conversation with you, because that's kind of what this energy is. This stand your ground energy is not so much standing their ground against you, so much as standing their ground against their fears with regard to the situation. But they do still have a lot of fears, and that's what's kept them so quiet in your direction, or what's kept them so restrained. In some cases, it hasn't been that they have stopped speaking to you or disappeared. It's just that they've pulled back and made it very difficult for you to access what they're really thinking about things. And even with trying to give them some distance, trying to give them plenty of space because you get it. And that's a lot of you. So we've got, remember, I've mentioned this in previous videos as well. We've got this amazing collective of people who already has some modicum of self-worth built up, so that running into this situation that has triggered you doesn't necessarily have you chasing them. So we have what would traditionally be a runner chaser dynamic, where the chaser is not chasing, or is not chasing very hard. And so you've got a runner here who has the opportunity to come back, and they're maybe kind of playing some mind games with themselves about that, where in the meantime they're building up. Part of it is in the realm of fantasy, and part of it is in the realm of nostalgia and just extrapolating. This is the energy between you into how they're feeling. So the original question that I had asked was, here was the energy between you and here's how they're feeling about you. But this came out so much in the direction of how they were feeling about you. It's kind of amazing. It just the way that they they want to come forward, but they feel like the desire to something else, the desire to stay away from this thing they're overthinking about is so strong. That fear is so strong. Okay, so remember that you've gotten in on the ground floor. They still have nostalgic feelings about you, that Six of Cups kind of sense, which we actually saw come out in a recent reading. And then also that, and I think it was the Soulmates and Separation reading. It came out, and it came out in kind of a very nostalgic sort of way that just feels almost like this. Like you have continued to grow within this person's mind and within their heart because of that nostalgia and some of the things that are coming back from that. So I'm looking to clarify that and just kind of understand a little bit more about it there. I saw one turnover. Yep, we've got temperance. They feel very balanced when they get to be around you. They get to be in your presence. It sort of eases their mind, makes them feel better about things, even things that outside of your relationship completely that bother them. You bring them some of that temperance. And remember, a temperance is like a hard won balance. It's not that day to day balance, although it often will lead to day to day balance being easier to strike because of this internal balance that's a little bit deeper. And so that's what you bring out in your person. So they've done a lot of work to get to this place, but sometimes they still kind of get blown off their tightrope a little bit. And so you remind them what it's like to be in more control of their ability to be on that tightrope. You know, you have made them feel and remember that. We've also seen this card come out here. There are some things that they want to be able to reveal to you as far as some mysteries. So that is the Moon card in reverse. There is something that has happened here in the past, and some of these things that they get kind of nostalgic about, where they remember it and they think, wow, I remember this a certain way. I wonder if you think about it a certain way. And that's them thinking about you. They wonder if you think about it the same way they do. They wonder if you had gotten that balance that they got. And, you know, part of them is taking for granted that you do or that you did. But part of it is they feel like there are some things they would like to let you know, some things that they would like to tell you that they maybe haven't felt like they could in the past, or things that they didn't quite know how to put into words. In a lot of cases, we've got people who have not historically been great at communicating these things, who you maybe have given them a big boost in helping them to communicate, but there are still some things out there they wish they could tell you. So let's get into this, these movements, choices, and decisions here, because this is a critical energy that's impacting your person in their lives at this time. And so it's creating a little bit of imbalance, a little bit of it, discombobulation for them. Um, so we've got the Ten of Wind. Okay, so something in some people's lives, something is ending and it's a very difficult, painful ending. Something where there's not a simple answer. And something that is, in some places, for sure, it's a job thing, it's a career thing. Somebody's feeling like they have had their abilities chopped off, you know. Over here, though, there's also a sense of some of it being decisions that they've made that have put them in relationships that make them feel like they are unable to establish change from this point forward, unable to, it's made them impotent to change things further, I guess. And that's a difficult place to be because it means basically it's a tangled web we weave, right? And so when there are things that we feel like need to change about our lives, sometimes you get in there and you realize that there may be some, shall we say, negative downstream implications of certain decisions. And so you get in there and it's hard to figure out exactly how to go forward. Things aren't quite as simple as what we would want. But let's get into this obstacles and challenges. I'm curious about this because this was hidden energies that are more or less hidden from your person, that you need to know about. So they're going to be a little hidden from you too, but I almost feel like you have a better view in this case. So this is obstacles and challenges. Remember, your person has some battles they're fighting that you may not be aware of. But the thing is, they haven't really gotten a good beat on that yet either. So they don't quite understand what it is that they're fighting or how to fight it. And maybe I still get this sense that maybe you have a better sense of it. There's Three of Cups. Oh, yes. Okay, so bear with me here. Your person is about to walk into some situations that you have experienced, and you would know what to do if you were to walk into those situations. They haven't quite, like, they haven't seen the signs. If you were in their place, you would be able to see the signs and you would understand what to do about this. So it's a little bit frustrating because if you were there to guide them, you'd be able to say, hey, don't step there. But unfortunately, because they have a different kind of experience or they lack a certain type of experience, they're likely to make this mistake. Okay, and we've got the Hermit card. So they have learned part of what they need to learn. Remember that the Hermit card shows a person going into their thinking cave, into their hermit cave, and they go in there to find some wisdom. But sometimes when they go in, they find some answers, but not all of them. And when they come out, they realize there's still some holes in this. And that's what's happening here. So your person does actually realize that they're not completely sure where to place their next steps. The fact that you would be able to tell them or to help them out is a little bit frustrating. But the thing is, even though they might even know that you would be able to help them place those steps, they're reluctant to reach out for that guidance and support. And it's about fear. It's about all of the things that have kept them apart from you up here, even though there are factors growing in your relationship or in your energy that are causing them to want to come closer. So this is working against them coming closer. This is working towards them coming closer. Let's take a look at what you can be doing, because remember, it's that accelerated motion. So we see a little bit of accelerated motion in their energy also. Is it about getting ready for whatever's happening in their energy, or is it something else? What is it that you need to do? So we've got the Seven of Fire, the Courage. This is like the reverse of this card up here with the Stand Your Ground. Um, and so this one is really about acknowledging, it's being compassionate, believe it or not. It's being compassionate for when somebody is feeling like they come on really strong and then all of a sudden they're overwhelmed, overcome by their fears. You're being asked to be compassionate when that happens, when you see that happen, because things are going to be moving really quickly. And so be prepared when you see someone, doesn't have to be your person, but when you see someone sort of reeling like that, just understand that you do understand more about how to navigate a situation like that. This reading shows you as being very experienced, not necessarily more older or necessarily more experienced in general than your person, but maybe more experienced in some of the things that they are currently dealing with. But here you're being asked to simply be compassionate, because there is going to be someone, could be your person, could be someone else, but it's basically practice for you, who's gonna end up losing their mojo a little bit. They're gonna end up feeling like they don't have some of that courage up there. Remember, your person, as it relates to you, is having some courage, but also a lot of doubts. So when you see this other person, or could be the same person, when you see the doubts win out, recognize that that's part of the human condition. It's part of something that can happen. It's best not to judge them too harshly, but also check in with your own intuition and see if there's anything else that needs to help you connect with this situation. This one's hard to read because it really depends on whether this experience that you have is with watching your person make a decision or with watching someone else. Either way, though, you're asked to have that compassion and to understand, kind of, they're doing what they can with what they have amassed so far. But with in the case of your person, they're doing some real growing right now. So I think as we go into the extended, we are going to take a look at what is happening with how your person feels, and some of what they're looking for, what they would like to have happen here. Um, we see that there's this energy over here of difficulty and choices and things, places where they're going. They're not quite sure how to manage it, but it's something that you would be able to help them out with if you were there by their side. we'll look into that a little bit more. And then let's also see maybe what it would take for the two of you to bridge to a place where you would be closer to this positive energy up here. What would allow you to get closer to a place of reconciliation, if not reunion? So I think that's what we're going to look at in the extended here. Thank you so much for being here with me for the first pile. I look forward to seeing you in the extended. The link is going to be down below. Please remember to subscribe if this one resonates with you, because it's part of a series that all has gone very nicely together. So I hope to see you again in another reading. And here we are getting started with pile two. So this is the one that has the porphyry pointer. That's always a fun crystal to remember to spell and say. So I'm going to be reading for you with the Dreams of Gaia Tarot, and then I'm going to clarify. I'm going to bring the Revelations Tarot back out again today for that one. So we're going to get started with the energy that's happening around your person. And this is, this is a reading that's really focused on your person and what's happening with them, what's going on with them, what they're thinking. We'll check into what they're thinking about you. But first, just kind of looking to see what kind of energy is happening around them. It's been a little while since we specifically checked in and did a reading that was just all about them. And let's see, we have the Queen of Earth. This is really great energy. This is fabulous energy around your person. So this has them feeling pretty good about things. It's the sort of thing where they can wake up and have a smile on their face. This is a really positive sort of energy. It makes them feel like maybe they've done some internal work, but in general, they have found a way to have some balance. That's really kind of what this energy says to me. We'll see a little bit more when we get in there to clarify, but this is really promising. So, Queen of Earth energy for the energy that's happening around them right now. That's really uplifting, nurturing, sort of keeps you warm sort of energy. Let's take a look at the energy that's happening between the two of you. So I know that a lot of you are in separation, and I also understand that separation can take many forms, but this is the energy that's happening between the two of you, whether you are in communication, in good communication with one another or not. A lot of you aren't in good communication, even if you do have some. So abundance is, again, a really fantastic energy to come out for what's happening between the two of you right now. This is things coming your direction that you let in. It's something that you've let in, and so it's really about the two of you almost letting one another in, almost being very accepting of what you've learned. It's hard to describe because it's not just the person, it's the things that they bring with them. And so in order to have that, you've really got to be open to it. But I sense a little bit of openness here between the two of you. Even if you're not in a position to really have a communication, there is still, on some level, things are going back and forth, and there is exchange of energy going on there. Because we talk about how when one of you learns something, it really benefits both of you. And this is exactly the sort of that's the kind of exchange that I'm talking about. So let's see now how they're feeling about you. This is the energy that's kind of happening between the two of you. So it'll feed into how they're feeling, but so will this energy that's happening around them will feed into it as well. So let's see how they're feeling about you. We've got the Sage. They don't feel like they are the expert. Okay, so the Sage is a persona, an archetype of wisdom and having had some experience, and in this case your person is feeling like they are in possession of neither of those things. So they're not feeling they really have the wisdom to understand everything that's happening or that has even happened with you within them. But it's also got this feeling of like it sticks out. There's no way that they would be able to ever forget the interaction between the two of you. That's the song Unforgettable is going through my head, believe it or not. But so that is kind of part of what's coming through with this. They feel like there are a lot of things they don't know, but generally speaking, you are unforgettable for them. So let's look at a critical energy that is impacting your person in their lives at this time. So here's going to be something that is important to them, or it's creating a circumstance that's important for them. It might not be something that's even coming from them. Maybe it's more a matter of circumstances that surround them and change the color of the air, like the queen of the earth, the queen of earth, that energy. Oop, I dropped a couple. That energy of the queen of earth that's around your person is helping to kind of color the energy or color the air around them. It helps to understand the energy that they're swimming around in. And so here we are looking at something that's impacting them in their lives, but isn't necessarily something that they are generating or something that they are doing. Okay. So we have, it's a three of air, but it's in reverse. So if we take a look at it, the three of air is generally a wide open feelings, but very hurt feelings sort of card. Um, Here, when we have it in the reverse, though, it's the sense of coming away from that, coming out of that, getting to more of a place that you can consider, that you can heal and start to get some clarity. So that is something that is significant within your person's. I'm going to try and keep these on the screen. It's significant within your person's world at this time. It's a critical energy that's impacting them, is this feeling of almost like the sun is coming out, the springtime is dawning, and it's not happening quite yet here in the northern hemisphere, but we've been getting the feeling breaking through in some of the readings of that springtime dawning, and that's a little bit what's happening with this card here. So this is an important energy that's impacting your person in their lives at this time. But it doesn't necessarily, we'll have to get into it a little bit more deeply to understand what it is exactly that they are healing from, because it may not be just this situation with you. There may be more to that. Let's take a look at some hidden energies. And so this is really what is hiding from them. So it may be something that you're able to see, maybe even something that you're able to influence, but it's something that your person doesn't realize. And so the good thing about it is, if you realize that they don't know it, then it may change something that has previously been a misunderstanding for you. So we've got the integrity card that's come out. And right away, it reminds me a little bit of that feeling of the King of Cups, except the integrity card is really it's just very honest, open, forthcoming, unafraid to be that way. And what your person doesn't realize is that you are willing to be more honest and open with them than they may realize. And so this is something, again, like I said, that may impact things between you, because it may be that you haven't quite registered that they are afraid to trust on a whole different level. Like maybe you've registered that they're afraid to trust, but there's something else. There's something that goes beyond that. That they are unable to see the integrity that other people are mostly able to see within you. So that's something else to keep in mind there, but it's something within them that makes it difficult for them to see. Let's look to see what sort of actions you might be able to take. What would be good for you to do in this situation, whether you're in communication or not. And it doesn't have to be something that directly impacts them. It could be something that directly impacts you and your healing and puts you in a better place. So we've got the child, and the child card. It's another archetype, but what's significant about this one is not so much that it's in reverse. So, okay, the child card, this one is all about healing of the inner child. So if you haven't engaged in too much inner child healing, it's all about figuring out what part of you it is that needs the love that they didn't receive or the support that they didn't receive at the time. Okay, and so it's about kind of figuring out what you need and providing it for yourself. That's the spirit of inner child healing, and what it's telling us here is essentially that this is not yet completely done for you, so give it a little bit of time, give it a little bit more effort, and continue working on the healings of the inner child, because that's going to be something that really helps you as you go forward in this situation. Your person is making some assumptions that you've maybe already made some of this progress. So just something to be aware of. It is still an area where you want to continue to focus and you want to continue to do some of your work. So now we're going to jump in and clarify. And this Revelations deck was, I just used it in a reading here recently on here. And if you get personal readings from me, you'll notice that it's pretty heavy in the rotation. Um, let's take a look here first at this Queen of Earth. So this is the Queen of Earth that came out in the energy that's happening around your person. And it is delightful energy. It is the type of energy, we have both of our cards. It is the type of energy that healing kind of comes from. So we have okay, even though they're surrounded by this energy of nurturing and something that feels like it kind of lifts them up, there is still this sense of anxiety that they feel. They are working through the process of freeing themselves from the processes of overthinking, of anxiety, but it's not quite there yet. So here is a person that even in the midst of this sort of energy that lifts them up, makes them feel warm. This springtime feels like it's kind of dawning. It's tough for them to drop the anxiety. They still have a fair amount of it. It's something that, even with that warmth of springtime, that kernel of anxiety hangs on in there and it's there to protect them. But at this point, it's really not doing very much. And they're aware of that. So they would like to fix it. They want to unravel that kernel and pull it out, but it takes a lot. So they've moved through a portion of that process. They've gotten to a place where they're not just overthinking constantly, but there is still a fair amount of anxiety that that they're battling. You know, it's a not a simple process for them. Let's look into this abundance card. So this is that energy between you. And we've been noticing that even though we had a period of time there, and especially here in like the tail end of December, definitely the first part of the year, where people were having a very hard time connecting with their inner selves, connecting with their intuition. And little by little, that's been coming back. We kept getting the advice, keep trying, and it's been happening. And I've been hearing from several of you, every time I close my eyes, that's he's there, she's there, I can feel my person, you know. And this abundance kind of speaks to that, because it has everything to do with opening yourself and being open to the energy that's coming your direction. And so that's kind of what's flowing between the two of you right now. But let's take a look. So we've got judgment. The judgment card is not just okay, so it is a card that talks about reconciliation. It talks about desire to reconcile, feelings of reconciliation, but it's not just that. It is also the idea of going back over things and making sure that you understand that if there's something there to be learned, you're getting the lesson, that things are actually passing judgment, that things are okay. So let's get in and see. It's more than one card. One more card for abundance. The energy that's flowing between the two of you. Will take this top one here. And we've got the Hierophant. So there's definitely this sense of it's 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 leadership, spiritual leadership, but it's also It's almost guidance. It's kind of like the two of you are able to use each other as a light in the night, even though you are at this point pretty much walking side by side. The truth is you are your own light, but it's difficult to kind of use that, I guess. So you're able to use each other as that light. It's a divine light. It's hard to describe, but basically that abundance has you open to one another's energy. And this judgment that you guys are working toward is kind of happening in the background on an energetic level. So that's really positive because it may be a little awkward when you come back in contact on a physical level. But this is work that has to be done. And this is the whole real reason that the two of you came together, to get to know each other and to meet in this lifetime. So this is things happening the way that they're supposed to, but it can be a little bit confusing and it can be a little bit remaining in separation, you know. So let's take a look at this sage card. This is how they're feeling about you. So remember that was they feel like there's a lot they don't know. They would like to come toward you. That's something that we've been seeing more in these readings here lately, and but they're proceeding very slowly. The Knight of Pentacles has them proceeding very slowly, and the Fool card has them proceeding nonetheless. So here is a person who is very concerned about how things are going to play out if the two of you do come together. This anxiety is not unfounded. However, it is probably more overwhelming than it needs to be. So they're really worried about this. They are thinking that you are farther along in your development than you are, maybe, and that they can't kind of measure up. They don't have the wisdom. They don't have the experience. They aren't as far along in some way. You know, whether there's an age difference or anything else, this is one of the things that really comes out. They look up to you. Um, Okay, so let's take a look over here at the Three of Air. So this is the Three of Air in the reverse. And so this was pain going away. And we have both of our cards. So we have the Strength card in the reverse. And we have, again, the Three of Swords in the reverse here. So the Three of Swords in the reverse is kind of modifying this Three of Swords in the reverse. That's that same energy, that Three of Air. But reversed. And it has to do with that open soul pain, but letting the kind of the pain fall out. So there's still so much fear here. It reminds me so much of the feeling that's happening in their current energy. It's like the current energy that they're in is aligning with a critical energy that's also impacting them. And this critical energy that's also impacting them is healing energy. It's allowing them to move forward, allowing them to move into a place where they can better align themselves so that they can heal, but there's still so much fear that things are very slow going. It's also like they associate you with their healing to a certain degree, and they they want to pursue it. They want to move toward you. They see all that wisdom, but they don't feel like they want to move very quickly. You know, there's a big piece of them not wanting to move very quickly, and yet almost feeling like they're already at home. So when you hear, you know, if you go out there and you listen to YouTube readings, one of the things that you might hear, one of the themes that I have historically heard is of the fact that you're still connecting on that energetic level. And here I would say is an example of here's why it matters, here's where it happens. So the two of you are still very much connected, and it is going to benefit you when you come into contact with one another, which your person would like to do, but they're moving very slowly. Let's take a look at this integrity card that's in the hidden energy. So this is they are not quite able to see your honesty and integrity because they are so triggered and concerned, that they, at least at the time that you were interacting more heavily. So we've got the Queen of Swords, but in the reverse. Okay, this is all right. And we've also got, wow, the Queen of Pentacles in the reverse. Okay, so This is you really make their instruments spin. Like this is something that I've an analogy I've used before. But you really seem to make their instruments spin. You have this ability to, well, okay. It's mutual. The instrument spinning part seems to be mutual, but it reminds me of like when young people, very young people, teenagers start to dabble in the concept of romance and they don't really know what to expect. They don't really know how it works. And one of the common misperceptions is that the other person is more worldly, the other person is more experienced, the other person knows what they're doing. And so in this case, your person is almost being, reverting back to that young teenager who is feeling like, for sure, this other person has more experience than I do. I feel that so strongly up here. But I also feel it here. So, one of the reasons that they are unable to read you as easily as, say, the general population. So, the thing is, they may be able to read you incredibly well. But when it comes to this, when it comes to your intentions, they have a really tough time with it. They have a really tough time getting okay with the fact that you're not trying to hurt them, that you are being completely honest, you are working with integrity, and they have some fears that are just making them really question that. And it has everything to do with their own concerns about, well, maybe I'm not thinking about this logically. Well, maybe I'm missing something and I don't really deserve this. I'm not really worth this. Up here, this energy that's surrounding them says they are. This is the same energy, only this one's in the upright and this one's in the reverse. This is in their perceptions and it's in that hidden emotions. It's the sort of thing that it's hidden from them, but it's beneficial for you to know that they don't have the wherewithal to see this because it helps you to understand maybe some of the things that have happened in your experiences together. So now let's take a look at this last card. So this was the "what if anything should you do" sort of card, and really it's about the path that you're on and continuing down that path, particularly as it relates to inner child work. So going in and seeing what portion of yourself truly needs to be healed. And you go back when you do inner child work. It's not just figuring out what you needed at that portion, but you have to go back and sort of relive the experience, see the experience. And so it's a little scary because there is some element of having to reopen the lid on some boxes that you might have nailed tight, you know, shut and put down at the bottom of a lake. There's a it's not necessarily going to be comfortable work, but it is very victorious work, and that's what this is telling us. It's not just it's incredibly rewarding. It's something that's going to be beneficial for you, and um, it's worth doing. It also is going to provide some direction for you. So at this point, without having done some of that inner child work, it's easy for you to emotionally meander a little bit and not always know how to go in a straight line toward what it is that you want. And we've seen in so many of these readings that both of you have been placed into a position where you've had to reassess what it is that you want, figure out what you want. And of course, you see your person is trying to do this in the midst of some pretty dynamic and inconsistent energies. It's not a simple thing. They are working through some things that take some time because of those, because it's very dynamic and because it's very inconsistent. You've got some of your own over here, some of your own issues that you can be working through that'll help you to become a little bit more appropriately spiritually directed as you're trying to work through things with your partner, whether your partner ends up being this person, where you're going to be working through things here, emotionally, spiritually, potentially in the physical realm as well. And you may partner with others along the way, whether it's family members, friends, another romance that comes along for you, depending on the situation. Um, there's a lot to be considered here. This is something that your person has opened up for you, and it's a path that you now have the opportunity to walk down because of this experience that you've had. It's not an easy path, but it is an incredibly rewarding one. And you're encouraged to take the opportunity because the path isn't always open to you. You have to be opened up psychologically and emotionally before you're able to walk down this path to any real benefit. So that's where you are with your person right now. But this is what's happening with your person. So I think as we go into the extended, we're going to look at a couple of things a little bit more deeply. We'll look at how they're feeling about you. So we did ask that question, but we're going to get into it a little bit more deeply. We're also going to see what's happening. When we look at what's happening with your person, they have some very difficult back and forth sort of energy that they have to contend with. We're going to dig in a little bit more deeply with this and understand maybe what's happening, the direction that your person is going, what's happening with that. We're also going to take a look. I want to connect a couple of readings that we've done here recently. So we did a reading. It was a pick a pile reading, and it was about reconciliation and reunion and whether you were headed toward one of those. And so, what I'd like to do, one or both of those, and what I'd like to do is maybe check to see, in your case, what would it take to help bridge you to the place where you want to be so that you would be able to get to reconciliation, if not a reunion. So remembering that a reconciliation is getting on the same page, reunion is coming back together. So we're going to take a look at those in the extended. We'll see how that looks. I hope to see you there. The link will be down below. So I hope to see you there. Otherwise, if this one resonated with you, please hit like. Please do hit subscribe so we can stick together. And I look forward to seeing you again in another video. And now we'll get started with pile 3. So pile 3 has the Mahogany Obsidian Obelisk. Love this one. Also, a couple of super awesome words. Mahogany, Obsidian. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and jump in. We're going to look first at the energy that's happening around your person. And so remember, this is the first time we've done a reading on just what's happening with your person here in a little while. And so just getting kind of the energy that's happening around them. So, let's see. None of the cards that fell out here are actually going to be used. Sometimes when we have a single one fall out, I will use it, but not that time. All right. We've got one here. So we've got the moon card coming out in the reverse. And so the moon card in the reverse is about the bearing of secrets. It is about letting mysteries become known. It's about shedding a little bit of light. And this is something that we've seen in some previous readings that your person would be interested in doing. Some of your people would be very interested in shedding a little bit of light. And the energy around your person is that of shedding some light. So whether some things are coming out around them or whether they're the ones doing the actual shedding of the light, this is a concept that seems to be visiting them on a somewhat regular basis. So let's take a look then at the energy that's happening between the two of you at this time. So we've got the energy that's happening around your person, that energy of let's go ahead and show some things. Let's illuminate. Let's put some light on some things. Let's let some mysteries out, some cats out of the bag. But let's look at what's happening between you. We got two cards want to come out here. So we've got the Nine of Wands and the Seven of Pentacles. And the Seven of Pentacles is in reverse. So here is a somewhat familiar feeling that we've seen from your person, depending on which reading you look at. So all of these readings have been very much connected. That's something that I've been noticing over time. I've now been out on YouTube for a little while, and what I've discovered is that we are watching something evolve. So different people are in different places along the timeline, but this is something that is ongoing. So if you want to go back and see some additional messages, I keep referring to them because I get some of the same even some of the same feelings as the cards come out. So we've got this Nine of Wands, okay? And we've noticed sometimes in the past, this is that wounded warrior sort of, emotion, but it's also that of guarding a wall that may no longer require guarding. Okay, so it's a stale sort of guardianship of this wall, and or guarding of this wall. And the Seven of Pentacles talks about investment that hasn't really happened, so it's in the reverse. When we have it in the upright, it's more about so the spider has invested. It's like their egg sacs, and they're going to deliver with all of these babies when the Nine of Pentacle comes, Nine of Pentacles, because that's when you get to see the fruits of your labor, you know. So the Seven of Pentacles is when you do that investment, and that investment having been done. What we see here is that for some reason the investment between the two of you hasn't truly been made, and it's been because of this defensiveness here, this need to guard a wall that maybe no longer requires guarding. And so this is the energy that's happening between the two of you. So you may be finding a little bit of this guardedness even happening on your side as well. But definitely this feeling of the Seven of Pentacles feels more strongly coming from your person. So when we go in and we get this energy that's happening between, sometimes you'll hear different tarot readers say you may identify more with one side than the other. And it has a lot to do with the fact that we're getting in and we're getting the reading, we're reading the energy that's happening between the two of you. Sometimes it's real obvious which side it's on. Sometimes it's less so. And sometimes it can be very mixed. It can be tough to kind of pull apart. I feel like the Nine of Wands piece is pretty mixed. There's some defensiveness that's happening in both places, but the Seven of Pentacles feels like a regret almost on your person's side for not having invested in a way that that they can be proud of, and that they would be able to then refer to today and be able to say, "Hey, do you remember?" No, they walked away in a way that does not allow them to do that. So let's take a look to see how your person is feeling about you. How your person is feeling about you. So we've already sensed that there's a little bit of guilt here. They wish they had handled something a little bit differently. Oh, Five of Cups. All right. So the Five of Cups is it can be a card of guilt. It's a card of regret and sadness and focusing on the things that did not go your way. So, focusing on the sadness, focusing on that negativity. And you'll notice that, you know, three of the cups are down, but the other two are up, and they have potential, and there's something that can happen from them. Transformation is possible. But with these ones that are down, you know, maybe all is lost. So, with the Five of Cups, though, that focus is really on these all is lost kind of cups, until we see that Five of Cups go into the reverse where you have a more well-rounded view. It's really that focus on the parts that are sad. So that is how your person is feeling about you. There's a significant focus on sadness or something that's creating sadness when they think of you. And it may have to do with the fact that they hold a little bit of this regret here and feel like they maybe could have done more. Um, Okay, let's take a look at a critical energy that is impacting your person at this time. So, this is not necessarily the same as the energy that's happening around them. This is something that's happening that impacts them. It matters. It is not necessarily good or bad. So, we've got the Two of Cups in the reverse. So there's a partnership that has gone wrong, and a partnership that's not working out well for your person. Maybe not one they can necessarily get out of. It doesn't feel like it's you. It feels like there's something else happening here that's impacting your person. And remember, this card came out in the reverse. So the Two of Cups is a very, it's energy flowing in both directions. You see, they're filling up each other's cups. And there's this sense of, doing just that, putting emotion into one another. And here, that's not happening. Something has broken, something isn't flowing back and forth. And that's the thing that they feel the most. That's a that's a sharp, sort of unpleasant kind of feeling, and it's, again, I don't feel like it's coming from you. I do feel like, however, that it is somehow going to impact them in a way that maybe even impacts you, because as they're feeling this negativity and sorrow, it doesn't do much to bolster them from here, although it may help to create a bit of a new perspective for them. So let's take a look into the hidden energies. And so this is going to be hidden energy that your person is not able to see. So it's something your person is not able to, it's hidden from your person. But it's something that if you knew was hidden from your person, it might be more beneficial for you. You might understand them a little bit better. Something that might help you in an area where currently you have a bit of a misunderstanding. Um, we've got the Page of Cups. So there's something, they're sorry. It's an apology. Oh my goodness. Page of Cups doesn't always come through as an apology, but in this case, boy, does it. They are very sorry, and they want you to know that. They want you to know, but they don't have a reasonable way to tell you that doesn't involve um, offending some of their places where they feel like they need to be guarded. They're feeling pretty regretful. They've got some other things going on. We've seen that in previous readings, but this is them really just feeling apologetic, feeling sorry for hurt that they've caused you, pain that they've caused you. They would love to have your forgiveness. They, at this point, would really love to have their own forgiveness. They haven't figured out how to accomplish that just yet. So, we'll clarify that here in a moment. That's a really heavy sort of, and it makes me feel heavy. You might notice it in my voice, because I kind of have to, as I'm getting into this energy, I have to actually get into it so that I can describe it. And this one just feels, oh, it's a bummer. It's really sad. It's really, I wish I could tell you how sorry I am, but there's not really a good way for me to convey this. So they feel like they've made a mistake, or it may have something to do with this lack of investment over here. Let's see what you could be doing, if anything, to make things better. So, if for the other two piles, the answer that came out here was things that you could be doing for yourself, which makes perfect sense. A lot of you are in separation. A lot of you are not having great communication, if any. And so, having an idea of what you could be doing in the background may be very helpful. And again, like I said, those other readings, they showed us things that you could be doing that were going to help you, but that were ultimately going to make you more well equipped. And so here we have that Nine of Pentacles. Talked about it earlier, because we've got the Seven of Pentacles that came here earlier, where the investment wasn't being made. Nine of Pentacles is where the investment is being realized. So this is where you're getting the fruits of your labor. You're able to take the fruits from the tree. You're able to, a lot of times though, what it has meant for us in these readings and what it means for us again here is emotional independence. It's really about walking away from anything that is codependent, walking away, in fact, for a moment, from the concept of interdependence, and really just being able to emotionally stand on your own, knowing that when you have that peace, then you are incredibly well equipped to stand beside someone else who also has this. You are basically unbeatable, and more than the sum of your parts once you both have this, sometimes even without it. So you guys have been doing a pretty amazing job in the times that you were together, even without this. So let's go ahead and take a look here. We're going to clarify. We're going to go ahead and get in and clarify. And we're going to start here with the moon. See what wants to come out for that. Okay, so we have the Three of Swords. This is pain falling away, because this is the Three of Swords in reverse. So things are coming to light. Pain is falling away. Feels a little like springtime. Boy, is that a concept that we've been having come out quite a bit here. We've got two cards that wanted to come out. But that death is like the death of winter that is followed by the new life of springtime. What we can see, though, is that with this Three of Pentacles, there's something that isn't quite following along. I'm going to try and move these off so we end up having room for everything. They're going to get a little bit cockeyed, but something has to end in order for something new to begin, but it's not just going to be a simple and easy process. Not just going to be everybody getting along. There is more to it. So we see the pain falling away. It's very much worth this transition that the moon in reverse brings, and the light being shed. Not necessarily a comfortable thing. It's going to end up in a better place, but it's a difficult time for your person. It's just goes to show how much is going on in their lives. And we can see this down here with this partnership, something breaking, something going wrong. So let's go ahead and clarify this Nine of Wands and this Seven of Pentacles, because this is that energy that's happening between the two of you. So we're seeing that there's this guarding of the wall. We're seeing that there is this fear or this guilt around not having invested when they should have. Ooh, what's this? So we've got the sage. Interesting. That's the most I've seen of the sage. Like, so, okay, the sage came out as an archetype in pile two. And I'm not going to tell you where it was because it wasn't in exactly the same place. But the concept of this one coming out more than once, or a card that feels like this coming out more than once, is kind of amazing. Basically, though, part of this is about spiritual guidance. This is the Hierophant, the equivalent of the Hierophant, which is different from the Sage that came out in the other deck a little bit. But what's similar about it is that ability to guide, that ability to understand which direction to go. And so there's a little bit of that that is in the energy between the two of you because you're interacting on this energetic level. And so all of these thoughts are based on things that are more on the physical side, in the physical realm. The Sage card here is more reference to what's happening on that spiritual side and on that spiritual level. The two of you are lighting each other's way. And I know I said that for one of the other piles. This is kind of a similar context, though, because it's not like you guys, first off, neither of you is truly leading the other at this point. It's more like you got aligned a few weeks ago. Maybe it was a few weeks ago. It feels like a long time ago, but you guys were turning a corner together. It was earlier this year, and it was where the two of you started to get aligned and not be one in front of the other so much. So this has both of you lighting each other's way, but not necessarily being able to see your own light very well. So it's beneficial that the two of you are walking together spiritually, even though you may not be seeing much of each other. And so here we have the Naked Heart, which in this tarot, which I didn't introduce my decks, I'm clarifying with the Naked Heart tarot. And I had been reading with the Guardians of the Night tarot. So the Naked Heart tarot is one of those ones that has, so all of them are based on the original 78 card deck. This is the 79th card for the Naked Heart tarot, and it has a connection with the universe sort of vibe as it's coming out today. So it's feeling like that connection isn't necessarily there, and with it, that ability, all of the things that come with that connection to the universe. So that ability to be vulnerable, the ability to really use what's coming from this sage experience. So the two of you are helping to hold a light for one another. But there's still a little bit of difficulty as you're trying to find your path forward, because there's still this kind of, there's a much brighter light that you could be availing yourselves of, but that unfortunately in this situation together it's difficult for you to do. So that's going to be a light that comes from outside of you. That's going to be a light that comes from spirit. That's going to be something that helps to guide you, but it's very difficult to see. And part of the reason that your person is having a hard time seeing it is because of this guilt. So we'll have to get in and see kind of what it is that is an issue for you as well, but I think we'll do that in a future reading since we're focusing primarily on your person today. First, though, let's dig into, before we get too far, let's dig into how they're feeling about you in this Five of Cups, because it feels like there's a lot of regret here, which is just it's a sad, sad feeling, but they've also got it here that I am so sorry, and I wish I could somehow get that across and be able to tell you that. And they just feel like they can't. They just feel like too much time has gone by and they didn't properly invest. So there's an anxiety about it. There's a lot of nostalgia. They feel anxiety when they think of you, and it has partially to do with the fact that they can't tell you how they feel. It has also to do with the fact that they have some regret about the way they carried themselves. They feel like they've made a mistake here somehow. But there is a lot of thinking about the past, a lot of this nostalgia, and really just wishing things had gone a little bit differently. There's a strong sense of that here in the Six of Cups, along with this regret. They're going to get to a place where that Five of Cups turns upside down, turns reverse, and they're able to see the big picture. But it could take a little while because right now they're still feeling pretty defensive and they're feeling like, darn it, I wish I had done something a little differently. I've made a mistake here. But there's a lot of nostalgia. This is definitely something we're going to look a little bit more deeply into when we go into the extended, just how they feel about you, because it's a lot of complex feelings. There's a lot of cups. It's a lot of emotion. but it's like they're burying they're not allowing anyone to see how sorry they feel. Um, Okay, let's look at this Two of Cups. So this is that critical energy that's impacting them in their lives at this time, and it's a partnership falling apart that does not feel to me as if it is you. It could be work, it could be family, it could be if they're in a relationship or a marriage, there could be something about that that's starting to break apart at the seams, any number of things, but there's something that's really impacting them. They've got you know what? It is relevant to this moon in reverse. It is relevant to these truths coming out. And oh my gosh, there's the Ten of Cups again. We can't have a reading this time of year. For a while, it was the Ace of Swords, remember? Now it's the Ten of Cups. And a lot of times here, it's coming out in reverse and coming out in kind of how your person is processing something. So they have come across something that feels like it's a little too good to be true, and it has caused them to get in and do a little bit more thinking. And what they discovered was no, this is actually something that is causing me to think differently about what I want and what makes me happy in this life. We've seen a lot of the Nine of Cups, and now we've seen a ton of the Ten of Cups. And it's about them realizing that something isn't too good to be true, that something is, in fact, just worth reevaluating everything for. We've seen some need to reevaluate, definitely in your person. Now it's creating a schism. It's creating a bit of an issue here in this partnership because they have recognized that this is not that they've made decisions in the past based on something that they thought was going to make them happy and that they thought was going to be their wish fulfillment. And that when they actually finally got to that place, they realized that's not their wish fulfillment. You've made them reevaluate it. This partnership is now breaking down as a result of that. That makes things really difficult, and it actually makes things really difficult for them, not just like logistically difficult, but also um, emotionally difficult to the point where they are not really able, they kind of dig their heels in and they're not able to do anything for a little bit. When the Chariot card is upright, you have a sense of you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. You've got to move, you've got to go someplace different. Here, though, with it in reverse, you've got their heels dug in, but it's not so much their heels dug in as they feel kind of almost dried into the mud. You know, they don't feel like they can move. So this is something that's really impacting them, really being very difficult for them right now. And meanwhile, they've got this hidden energy that makes them, they want to apologize. They don't even really know what it is that's generating all this sorrow and sadness in them. What they know is that they feel it. They don't really know what's causing it. Let's get farther into this. Because remember, this is energy that's hidden from them, but that if you knew it, might help you understand them a little bit better and maybe even interpret things a little bit more clearly. So, you have shown them something. You've shown them a stability and a possible way of being, a possible way of living and feeling that they didn't know was possible. And they are overwhelmed by it, completely overwhelmed. They didn't respond the way that they feel like they should have responded, and they have some regret over that. They have some anxiety because they haven't even finished processing it, but boy, are they doing some thinking about it. So if you're wondering if your person is thinking about you, they're thinking about you, and they're thinking about you in the context of, oh my goodness, it's like you're the one that got away. You're the Four of Wands and the Ten of Pentacles. I'm sorry. I made a terrible mistake, and I don't believe that I could ever repay you for being this. You know, it's almost kind of got that feeling to it because the Four of Wands is it's a very stable card, but it's like also the marriage, happy beginnings kind of card. The Ten of Pentacles is that household that has all of the resources that you could possibly want, has everything you could need from an emotional standpoint, from a physical standpoint, and this is something that happens very much in the physical. So they have seen you as their potential savior from this place of things not working out, but they don't have a great way to get there. A lot of anxiety, a lot of wishing they'd handled it differently. I didn't invest, and they're still hiding behind or guarding some of these walls. They're still employing some of these defense mechanisms. And over here, we see their tactics are kind of not being met with much traction. They're having a hard time moving forward, feeling stuck in the mud. There is change happening here, but not a lot of cooperation as they move along that change. So let's take a look at this Nine of Pentacles. And this is what you're meant to be doing. This is you moving into that emotional independence. Seven of Wands, even in a situation where it's uncomfortable, this is again you having that comfort in a situation that is uncomfortable. Even when you don't feel like the universe has your back, you are still going to be able to move. Even when you don't feel like you're totally confident, you're going to be okay. That's the kind of energy that you are encouraged to move they're encouraged to move toward. And here we have that Nine of Cups. Make sure you know what it is that you truly want. That's what that Nine of Cups is here to tell us. So your person has received this message, and they received along with it a little bit of a shock that they discovered they didn't previously know what they wanted. So you want to make sure that you don't end up in a rough situation. Make sure that you are what you want. Make sure that you know what you want. So we're going to go ahead and go into the extended reading now. We've got the first thing I said I definitely wanted to take a look at was how your person was feeling about you and get in a little bit deeper on that. We're also going to look at some of what's happening with your person, what they're contending with, what's happening in their world right now, because there's a lot of conflict and a lot of difficulty, a lot of them moving and developing, but not having a lot of support as they do so. Things are not helping them out. They're having to kind of dredge themselves through it, which is honestly how this works. They've got to move through every step of this, even though it feels like drudgery, even though it feels terrible, and even though they feel like they now know what a better idea is. They're not ready to approach this new idea. So let's take a look at that. We're also going to take a look at, well, what would it take for them to get ready to where they would be able to approach you, and vice versa. So what would it take for you to be where you need to be, for your person to be where they need to be, and for you to be able to come back into the direction of either a reconciliation where you're getting on the same page, or a reunion where you actually are able to come back together and come into union in the physical. So we're going to take a look. If this one resonated for you, please hit like. Please do subscribe. There have been a lot of patterns and a lot of readings along these patterns. So it might be, if this one resonated, a good place for you to be. I look forward to seeing you in the extended. The link is down below if you want to take a look at that. Otherwise, I will see you again in a future reading.